you're back.
I am.
And was it everything you hoped it would be?
Yes?
Did you get all the acclamation you felt you deserved?
My speech was entirely about you and your work.
But I'm just the wife, isn't that right?
When have I ever treated you like
I am
that?
the wife of Pierre Curie.
You said you didn't care about professional accomplishment. You only cared about achievement. I was the one who fought.
And I'm doing what a wife should do, giving you children and keeping your home.
We should get out of Paris. Paris pollutes us both.
How dare you? How dare you take my brilliance? How dare you take their applause?
We should get out and get some air.
I am one of those who believe with Nobel.
No.
That mankind
I made it clear.
derives more
No,
good
I
than
made it
harm than you
absolutely
discover
clear,
it.
Marie, that it was our work.
You stole my brilliance and you made it your own. You should never have gone without me.
Oh, that was a clip from the brilliant Radioactive, which is coming to streaming services in 2 weeks' time, and it will be released on DVD in July. And I'm absolutely thrilled to say that I'm joined by the star of the film, Rosamund Pike. Hello.
Hi, Edith. Hi.
How are you? I was just thinking while listening to that it's a very visual film, which we'll get into in a second. There's some fantastic elements that Marjane, in terms of her creativity, bring to the way that she tells the story. But listening to it there, it would sound fantastic as a radio play.
Well, I think that's Jack Thorne's writing. You know, he took a graphic novel, a very beautiful, unusual book by this lady, Lauren Redniss, who did these very evocative drawings, clearly enchanted as she was by the story of Marie Curie, her love for Pierre and her love for science. And Jack just took that and ran with it and made the script kind of, it really does jump off the page in quite an unusual way. It's interesting, maybe we should try it. But, you know, you do miss some of Marjane's wonderful visuals. You know, you would miss.
Oh, it's, yeah. We were lucky enough to be able to talk about this. I feel like we've almost been on a pause, really, because literally a week before lockdown, I had a fantastic opportunity to chat to yourself and director Marjane Satrapi and also Sam, who plays Pierre in the film, about this incredible production. And then, unfortunately, we hit lockdown and the film wasn't able to have a proper release in cinemas, where it very much deserved to be shown on that big screen. And then here we are now talking about it again, which is nice for me.
Yeah, it's nice for me too.
It's
especially now with science so much at the fore in the last few weeks. Everybody's been obsessed, rightly so, with science. And I thought, gosh, you know, suddenly we're in this time when, you know, scientists are once again the heroes, and everybody is realizing what, a scientific discovery can mean to the world.
Yeah. And how are you? How is this kind of crazy time been treating you?
Well, I'm in Prague in the Czech Republic, where I was shooting a television series for Amazon called The Wheel of Time. And to do the series, I moved my family out here and put my boys in school. So, this is our home now. So we, as everyone was sort of fleeing, like sort of last plane out of Saigon kind of feeling on our last day of shooting. And then the Czech government, the rules have been very strict but very absolute since March the 13th, where they closed the borders. And most of our international cast and crew left, but I stayed with my family. And we've had as I'm sure people in, other great cities around the world have had this very uncanny experience of seeing a city empty. Cities that are usually so slammed and crowded. And obviously it has a sort of eerie feeling, but it has great beauty too.
Absolutely. I almost feel like it's the kind of, Mother Nature taking a breath, allowing herself to just have a moment and take a breath and, reboot almost in a way. Can we talk a little bit about Marjane and working with her? Because I think that this film is incredibly, not brave's not the word, but I love how she visualizes elements of this film, because you could be, a lot of people will start watching it thinking, oh, it's just the story of Marie Curie, but there is so much more to this film. There are so many layers to it, and it's a wonderful exploration into her and her relationships, not just with her family, but with herself and with science, I think, as well. Would you agree?
I do agree. I felt very strongly that, Marie Curie, there was nothing orthodox about her. She was a radical person, living through a time of change. The world at that point, electric light was new, X-rays were new, Paris, the Eiffel Tower was going up, the railways were being built, everything was changing. And, she was a sort of brilliant person living at a brilliant time. And any sort of conventional or insipid biopic wouldn't have served her. And when I first met Marjane, she's an artist first and foremostly, and she'd done all these wonderful drawings, sketches, which she'd made into little animatics of various sequences in the film. And I just thought, oh, this is incredible. It's very captivating. It's incredibly unusual. It's like she takes a big leap right inside Marie Curie's brain. So there are sort of, she showed me a wonderful sequence where, after her discovery of radium, it's like her whole bedroom fills with green, and suddenly the roof lifts off her bedroom, and the stars that she sees through the roof become a kind of atomic structure. And I thought, okay, this is exactly how it should go, because you've got to get inside the brain of a scientist. And Marjane, I think she finds intelligence very sexy, and so she was going to kind of take a very a kind of sexy look at science, I suppose, without trying to dumb it down. But, she was going to put the passion with which she approaches life into this film. And I knew it was a film she had to do. In fact, we had a quite a humorous misunderstanding, because she said she's, French is her second language. She's from Iran, but French is her adopted country, and France is her adopted country. And she said, yes, because I have cancer, and this is the film I have to do before I die. And I thought, oh my God, well, that's I thought, and I thought, bloody hell, right, okay, so that's what's, not only might I take on this role, but this is a lot riding on this film. And afterwards, I said, Marjane, I'm so sorry, nobody told me that you were ill. She said, I'm not ill. I said, she said, what are you talking about? I'm not ill. I said, I thought you just told me you had cancer. She said, no. She said, if I had cancer, this is the film I would have to do before I die. So I'd spent the second half of our dinner thinking, God, this is, oh my God, this is heavy stuff I'm walking into. Anyway, luckily she's in great health, Marjane, and she is very funny, and she's and I think and it's a very intense and beautiful thing, the relationship between an actor and the director. It's a sort of it's a very close connection, and Marjane and I had a sort of wonderful friendship came out of this film. It was lucky.
Was it a combination then of the adventure of working with her on this film, but also diving into Marie Curie? What did you know of her prior to taking on this role and stuff? Because it's that thing where I learnt so much about her from watching this film.
Yes, I learnt a lot too. I knew the bare bones. I didn't even know she'd won 2 Nobel Prizes, to be honest. And nor did I know that her and Pierre Curie's daughter also won a Nobel Prize. I knew she was Polish. I think that's very important, that she came from Poland, and she'd lived in a country where they were under Russian occupation, and she'd had to fight to get an education. Education had to go underground in those times, and so she was used to kind of playing against the odds. And so when she came to Paris and found herself as one of only 27 women in the science faculty at the Sorbonne, that didn't faze her in the least. In a way, Marjane and I both felt that Marie Curie, in a way, she wasn't a feminist. She just sort of owned equality as her right. She just took it and lived it. It wasn't really something she fought for. And one of the kind of telling lines, it really struck me when I read the script, and it probably struck a lot of people who saw the film, but her daughter asks her towards the end of her life is whether she suffered a lot from being a woman. And she says, believe me, my dear, I suffered a lot more from lack of funding than I ever did from being a woman. Which, it's interesting. But the other thing, I saw her as, she's an unruly person, Marie Curie. You don't have a big brain like that and come in a nice, safe package. Niceness didn't get her anywhere. And I saw her as somebody who had a huge capacity for love, but was quite odd, socially quite difficult, quite unmanageable. And I think it was precisely those things that Pierre Curie found charming, and Marjane Satrapi gave me the space to play with in the film. I think another director might have tried to contain me and her into a more appealing persona, maybe.
Well, I thought that was one of the many things I loved about that. The relationship between her and Pierre and you and Sam on screen is wonderful. It's a great relationship to watch, and I love the way that a kind of a male not mad scientist, but extravagant and kind of opinionated scientist would be portrayed, would very much be the male role within a film like this. And like you say, a lot of people would have tried to contain her character, but I love that was almost flipped between how you and Sam's characters were.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, that's so true. And had he been, had it been the male figure who was the central character, male geniuses have always been allowed to be a bit difficult and a bit rude and a bit obstinate and
flawed.
Yes, and nobody has any trouble with that. But give them a woman cut from the same cloth, and people immediately start bringing up this question of likability. There was one French interviewer who I did an interview with when we took the film to Paris, and he said, what they don't understand is why, after all her success, she was still a bitch. And I said, wow. I said, that says a lot more about you than it does about Madame Curie. Yes. But Sam Riley was the perfect person to be Pierre, because I think he saw Marie and Pierre as this very modern couple. They had a very exemplary marriage, really, born out of equality. That he loved her for her oddity, for her mind, for her brilliance, for her companionship, and they were genuine partners. I mean, in a way, I think it's you don't get many stories like that, do you? Where you fall in love with someone, you share the same passion, and out of that passion is born something that changes the world. And the release of radioactivity, I think, to be honest, yes, the film is about Marie Curie, but it is also a biography of radioactivity. And I think that can't be, that is one of the reasons that I found it more interesting than I might have done had it just been a biopic. I mean, she is, Marie Curie is certainly a worthy person to be studied. Whether you need a conventional biopic of Marie Curie, I would question that. But I think a sort of radical, explosive, postmodern film about science and radioactivity and Marie Curie, and then yes, that really excites me, and I hope that's what people will feel they get out of this film.
Yeah, it's been really wonderful to watch, over the last couple of films in particular, the characters that you have brought to life. And I imagine, or tell me for you as an actor, if it is a case of you learn something and you take away something from the characters you play, be it about learning something about another person or something about yourself or whatever. And particularly with in a Private War, where you played Marie Colvin as well, which I thought was a fantastic film. And just about her story as well, which I feel like not enough people know about, and again, an extraordinary woman and quite a unique individual again, in terms of same way as Madame Curie. It's kind of people always trying to put them in boxes, but them constantly fighting to have their voice heard or help other people's voices be heard. Is that important for you that there's kind of real substance for you to take away from a role in a way?
I think what you said at the beginning of you grow is what you implied. You grow through these characters, and then your interests change, and what you've taken on and learnt through the journey of playing people like these women, it leaves its mark. And obviously, these, now I'm 40, the women's lives are so much bigger than they were when I was 20. They are people with lives. Marie Curie, I played her from 26 to 63, and Mary Colvin, I played her from 39 to 56. So I'm getting to sort of straddle different ages as well. But
that's nice though, because you get to play a character over, you get the time to sort of explore how they've evolved and changed over those number of years as well.
And I think as a woman, that I think identity over time is very, very important to all women. I think it's the relationship with oneself at different. I mean, I'm sure it is for men too, but I can only really speak for women. But how we fit each sort of biological era of our lives, and it's all very key. And it's always a dialogue. I think playing a character between you, the person, and the character you're playing. It's like a sort of unexpected meeting of two people. It's like when Marie Curie meets Rosamund Pike, or when Marie Colvin meets Rosamund Pike. It's not. It's like it's a sort of connection, like a sort of slamming together of two souls. And yes, of course, you, me, Rosamund Pike, I take away bits of them, and sometimes it feels certain moments feel like things I've lived rather than things I've played, which is always an odd feeling. Certain emotional experiences of both characters feel like experiences I've really had. So
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So that was a stomach throat gurgle for me, sorry, in the background there as well. Apologies for that.
We've had Uncle Stephen calling in some throat gurgles, yeah.
Listen, before I let you go as well, which it's so nice to talk to you, but am I right in thinking that you might be working with Marjan again in the future, when that involves us being able to actually, get out there and get back to making wonderful productions?
Marjan and I would love to do something together again. We had such fun, and we're sort of different, and yet we're very similar. I think we both have a kind of innate oddity in the way we view the world, which is very similar. We do have a very wild idea, but whether or not it will ever come to fruition, who knows? But we are playing around with something that amuses us at the moment.
Brilliant. Amazing. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Radioactive, as I said earlier, is going to be on streaming services in 2 weeks and out on DVD in July. And in the meantime, when you sit down and look at the films that you have, if you just look at film that you've been involved in, it's a really amazing list. And so I've been doing this thing, encouraging people to dive into an individual's work. So I think if people want to jump down a Rosamund Pike rabbit hole of film performances, there's an amazing list there for people to dive into as they wait for Radioactive to be available. Rosamund, it's so lovely to chat to you.
Thanks so much, Edith.
I'm
about to do what you've just described with Isabelle Huppert's work. Yeah, because I just...
Oh, are you?
Yeah, exactly that. I was going to start with all the films she did with Claude Chabrol and go from there. Anyway, so there you go. I'm doing my own rabbit hole.
There you go.